FOS-TV is brought to you by the Lion's Den. The Den always has been and always will be about enjoying family and friends in an environment steeped in Happy Valley tradition. So come back to the Den, the perfect place to recall old memories while creating new ones.
Hi, this is Mark Brennan from Fight On State, welcoming you to another version of Fight On State TV, joined by Keith Conlin, former Penn State offensive tackle. Keith, big day yesterday for Penn State football. Big Ten divisions. Joe Paterno naming a true freshman as starting quarterback. Got a note from John Neese, the meteorologist at Penn State, saying yes, we have it. It's official. Hell froze over. But it hasn't. You know, nothing's frozen over here in Happy Valley. We have Beaver Stadium in the background here at the corporate offices. Hey, first of all, Big Ten divisions. You were at Penn State, playing at Penn State when the team joined the Big Ten. What do you think of this whole new division thing? Penn State in a division with Nebraska, or having a protected game with Nebraska, in a division with Ohio State. What's your overall thought on this?
I wish they were in a division in '94.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I love the Ohio State matchup, and keeping the two Indiana teams and then Illinois. I like the way it's going, and I like the the fact that there's going to be a championship game, because there's really no co-champions and stuff like that. You have Ohio State the last 7-8 years, and Penn State's won 2 Big Tens, but they also split 1 with Ohio State, and split 2 with Ohio State, correct? This gives a clear-cut division champion, and so there's not 3 teams declaiming themselves to be Big Ten champions. So I like them. I really like the divisions, and I love the overall matchup with Nebraska. Obviously.
Yeah, sir. I mean, Keith, for people who may not remember, way back then was on the great '94 team. Was absolutely screwed out of a national title when the voters voted Nebraska. What are your thoughts on having Nebraska? And you must have mixed emotions, and not just you, the guys on that team.
Well, I mean, I respect Notre Dame. I mean, geez, I hate Notre Dame. I respect the heck out of Nebraska. I always have. I love their program. Yeah. They're always good kids. They're always tough, hard-nosed playing. I mean, I used to watch them even when I was in school and then out of school for a couple of years. You're supposed to hate this team because they took us, they didn't give us a national championship, but what can that team do? They did what they had to do. They won all their games, and we won all our games, and the powers that be gave it to them. But as a fan of football, I always respected Tom Osborne and the program and the players that he had, and getting out in the real world and doing some NFL stuff and doing some coaching stuff. You meet some guys from Nebraska, and you meet some fans from Nebraska, and you're like, man, these guys, they're just like us.
Yeah.
Very, very similar fan bases, very, very similar type of program.
Yeah, it's a great fit, and from Nebraska's side of things, a lot of Cornhusker fans would argue that Penn State got the advantage in '82 with a couple of, I don't want to say questionable calls, because, we run a site that covers Penn State, but I think the Nebraska folks remember that '82 game a little differently than the Penn State folks do. But hey, for anybody who's been out to Nebraska, it really is just like a Big Ten school, and I'll tell you, the fans are great, as you mentioned, and you've had a chance to meet coaches and players, so what a great fit, and it's just great, in my perspective, that Penn State's going to have a chance to play them every year.
I'm looking forward to going out there. I guess it was the '02 season when we had our revenge game against them at Penn State, and there was a lot of hate and anger built up against those Nebraska fans and that Nebraska team, and our guys gave it to them pretty good, but then they got it pretty good the next year at Nebraska. I think it's just going to be a great, great rivalry.
Now, when Penn State joined the Big Ten, they kind of forced these trophy games, the Governor's Victory Bell and the Land-Grant Trophy. Are you saddened to see these great trophy games being pushed to the side?
Completely devastated right now that the Land-Grant Trophy and the Governor's Bell are gone, and they're no longer...
They're still around, but it's just that it's going to take 4 or 5 years. The GVB is Minnesota, LGT is Michigan State. That Michigan State, it was a rivalry, but it never really took off, I don't think, the way people had hoped.
I believe it had a lot to do with how Michigan State, they never played well on the road. They never played well at Penn State.
Haven't beaten you guys here.
Yeah, it's just like they come into Penn State and just like their season was over, they just gave up. And you get ready for a big game, and then the other team just rolls over, and it's not that good, great of a rivalry. Now, we've had some great games at Michigan State.
Right.
Remember in '93, Kerry had 3 second-half touchdowns to win the game.
Kind of a springboard to '94.
That's exactly right, yeah. That was his big game, his coming-out party, and then going into the Citrus Bowl against Heath Schuler, he had a big game down there against Tennessee, and that was his, going into his senior year, that was his wake-up call. And I guess in '95, we had that last-second play with Bobby Ingram going across, taking a screen pass across the middle. So we have had some great games at Michigan State, but I mean, the rivalry was never really there, in my opinion.
And one of the things that sucks about this new thing, especially next year, is the way the schedule breaks out. Penn State's going to be at Ohio State and at Wisconsin to end the year. Boy, you know, I know that everybody was worried about Ohio State and Michigan playing, but did they worry about anything else? That doesn't seem completely fair. I guess there were some concessions that had to be made.
Yeah, I mean, Penn State, I mean, Nebraska they have a really bad schedule next year. If you look at a lot of the teams in the Big Ten, I mean, no one really got off easy.
Right.
I mean, there is,
and you're not going to when you have a super conference. But my thing is the way that they ended, and you know, the thing that I don't like.
Well, they took care of Michigan and Ohio State.
Right. Exactly. And the thing that I'm hoping, and I don't know, I've had some debates with people on our message boards. I wonder if the fact that they put Wisconsin at the end of the season for Penn State, that's not a natural rivalry. Maybe they're keeping that door open, that if there is further expansion for an Eastern team to come in, and I don't know, maybe a Pitt. I don't think it's ever going to be Pitt, but it would be a good, that would be perfect in my view, to have an end of the season rivalry with another Eastern team. When
you mentioned it to me last night, I thought about it, and I've been thinking about it today, and that's a great analogy. I really have thought about it, and you know, the Wisconsin thing is great because we're two big major universities, two monster universities, two great party schools, two great party tailgate and great big games. But
your priorities are always in the right spot.
You got to have it right. But again, it'll be a sort of a forced thing with the Michigan State because it's not really a natural rivalry
with Wisconsin. Yeah.
Well, it's sort of like the Michigan State thing. They're going to force it, and I think that they really have left that door open for more expansion. I mean, I told you what my ultimate get would be for the Big Ten. That would be Boston College, in my opinion. I think that to open up that Boston market, up that Northeast corridor, it's a lot of people up there, a lot of fans, and you know, great university, great program, great athletes, and great athletic programs. So that's what I would like to see, but who am I?
Let's jump over to Robert Bolden being named starting quarterback. Last time a freshman started was in '92. Would have been your redshirt freshman year. Wally Richardson.
Mr. Wally Richardson.
What was that like? What were the circumstances back then when he started? Because it was a little different. Was Carey and Sacker, were those guys hurt?
They both got hurt. Yeah, Carey had his volleyball incident where at a family picnic. Was playing volleyball and broke his finger and his throwing finger and I don't know if it was the middle finger or the ring finger, but it was pretty nasty. He actually had a surgery. So his '92 season was up and down, and he ended up having surgery to fix that. And John Sackey had gotten hurt in the, I believe it was the at Cincinnati game. I think that we had, I recall it was at Cincinnati. It was our first game. It was a real close game, but John got hurt, and Wally had to come in against Temple in '92 in the second game, our home opener, and you know, he didn't pass that much, and Joe took it out of his hands. He really didn't. We had a good offensive line and good receivers and good running backs, so he really didn't put a lot on Wally's shoulders. But I think that's going to be a little bit different with Bolden.
Yeah, well, this is a different situation. I mean, he was competing with all younger players. I mean, this isn't an injury forcing him in, and you know what? I'm happy to see it. If he's the best quarterback, you know what? Here to put Joe and the staff for getting him in there.
The most impressive thing is that he's had 25 practices.
Unbelievable, yeah.
He didn't come in the spring. He came in July, and he had no practice time before the preseason. That's the only time he had to show his goods to these players and the coaches. You know, talking to a few players and a few coaches, and they say he has it. He has it, and then when you hear about an 18-year-old kid who has it, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and if you know what, he's probably going to take some lumps this year, and this is probably going to be a fluid situation throughout the season. I wouldn't say that he's hammered this thing down, but you know what, this is going to be a tough season for Penn State, I think. I think it's going to be a fun season, but with the road schedule they have, is it realistic to think they'll be winning a national title or a Big Ten title? I'm not sure about that, but I think they have the tools in place to do some great things next year, even with that schedule. So I think this is the year that if you can get settled on a quarterback, and if it is Bolden, great. I think this will work out perfectly for him.
I'm a grass is always greener type of guy, and it just seems to me in Joe's history, he's always done better with teams that aren't supposed to do well.
Right.
Kids that buy into it, really buy into it, young team, hungry team that supposedly are a year away. And I think that you look at I mean, I'm a Penn State guy from back in the day, but my brother's here, the '85 team, you know, the '86 team was the national championship team.
Right.
The '85 was when they went undefeated and lost to Oklahoma in an Orange Bowl, and they weren't expected to do that. You know, it wasn't like, you know, they were a year away. So, I mean, like I said, grass is always greener for me. So I think that if these kids buy into Joe and buy into the coaching staff, they can make some things happen this year. Hopefully it happens. Will it happen? I don't know. We'll see.
regardless, true freshman quarterback for the first time to open a season in Joe Paterno's 45 seasons. Unbelievable. So it was a huge day yesterday. We just wanted to get everybody up to speed with our thoughts. Thanks for watching this episode of Fight on State TV. This is Keith Conlin. I'm Mark Brennan. We're signing off.
See you tomorrow night.